All right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Wow. Good morning.
Good morning.
Better now. I know it's cold outside, right? And it's very encouraging to see you guys here in a very cold morning. So welcome to our house. We are very happy to have you all here. Uh, as you all know, we always do a team every month. And this month, we're going to talk about André Luiz and the work that he did for Chico Xavier. And we have our friend Marco Diniz, who will started with the collection of the novels. But as usual, let's have our initial prayer and reading. I'd like Raquel to do it. And then just after you can start.
Good morning. Our initial prayer is from The Happy Life by Divaldo Pereira Franco. Reserve the right to remain indifferent to provocations of any kind. In an era of selflessness, like this one, evil is at liberty and seduces the unwise. Here it is others' anger that hurts you. There it is unbreathable sex that unnerves you. Over there is the ambition that sparks your interest. Vice is nearby. Capture victims. Disturbing entertainment is all around you. Everywhere, the victory of crime and the dissolution of good customs multiply their tentacles like a cruel, dominating octopus. Look on these conditions as a path of poisonous thistles, which the green pleasant grass hides on the ground. Do not let you step on them and avoid accidents of damaging effect. So let's now elevate our thought to our Master Jesus and thank Him for the opportunity of being here today together. Let's thank all the spiritual friends that are here today with us. Let's ask them to open our mind and our hearts for today's lecture and to inspire our friend Marco to perform a good lecture, clarifying our doubts. Thank you, so be it.
So be.
Marco, please.
Thank you, Raquel. Just prepare here everything. So, good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
We have a little hardware issues here in the beginning, so I'm a little bit nervous, like always. And once more, I am between you and the delicious lunch that's waiting for us, that Katarina did for us. Thank you, Katarina. So, like Marcio said, today is the first day of February, and every month we start a new theme. And the theme of this month is André Luiz and Chico Xavier. It's such a wonderful topic, right? Because André Luiz became a friend of everyone who interested in study Spiritism. And there is so much things to tell you about that. We better start. But before I tell you anything about André Luiz, we need to talk about Chico. The medium is one of the greatest Brazilian writers of history. Chico psychographed 468 books, and although he has sold over 50 million copies worldwide, he always donates the copyright of all his works to charities. He also psychographed more than 10,000 letters, having never charged a single penny of the recipient. Chico never admit to be the author of those books. He affirmed that only reproduce whatever the spirits dictate to him. The reason why he would never accept money generated from the books. It was Emmanuel, Chico, his spiritual mentor, that introduced André Luiz to him in 1943. He told Chico that a new friend was going to work together with him in a series of books. To be more precise, 13 books. That later were called the Life and the Spiritus in the Spiritual World series. Nosso Lar was the first in the series of novels that would literally catalyze the Spiritist movement by awakening the readers to the tangibility, so to speak, of the spiritual life and the interaction between the spirit and the material world. We could perhaps to say that the study of Spiritism as we know today will not be the same without those gifts presented from André Luiz and Chico Xavier. Some of those books were also psychographed by another medium, Dr. Valdo Vieira. But who was André Luiz? Well, in the preface of Nosso Lar, dated on October 1943, Emmanuel writes something very interesting. He talks about the new friend, but he gives us a warning. Don't try to figure it out who he was in his last incarnation. He said that because he knew it that we're going to try. So today we hear names like Carlos Chagas, Oswaldo Cruz, and there's another one, Faustino Esposel, that was a doctor and president of a Brazilian soccer team, Flamengo. But this is not as important at all, right? And he will explain why. He explains saying, this is because to redeem a disgraceful past, that the kind of secrecy is important around the spirit. So he's giving us a hint that André Luiz is not important as his previous life as he would be in terms of the work he's going to embark with Chico. But he does very warmly introduce André Luiz like a friend and brother in eternity. Quite important endorsement coming from a spirit like Emmanuel. After that, it's very easy to understand why André Luiz told Chico that he was going to use a fake name. And he said that was because to not create problems to Chico. And in a year, Chico will understand why. In a year, Chico didn't understand, of course, I didn't too. So, and then Chico asked André Luiz which name he would use in the book instead. So he looked to the Chico's brother, called André Luiz, that was sleeping in the next bed, and told Chico that he would use his name instead. That's where the name André Luiz comes from. So, in 1938, Chico psychographed the book Brazil, Heart of the World and Home of the Gospel, dictated by the spirit of Humberto de Campos, a famous Brazilian writer. I don't know if you can read here. Nosso Lar was first published in 1944, edited by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, FEB, right? And remember, Emmanuel's preface was dated on October 1943. So what would happen in the next year, in 1944? Well, in 1944, a lawsuit was filed against Chico and Feb from the window of Humberto de Campos, who plead for the book copyrights. In the case of legitimacy of the writer was proven. Along the trial, the judge decided that the Chico and the Brazilian Spiritist Federation were not guilty, saying that the book copyrights refer to books recognized while the author is alive, right? And this book was written until he was passed away, he was dead, right? So it seemed to be impossible for the court to prove the existence of mediumship. So since then, Humberto de Campos used the fake name Brother X, Irmão X, or Irmão X, sorry, in order to avoid future problems, right? And she finally understood what the problems André Luiz and Emmanuel was trying to avoid. Okay, we know where his name comes from. What else we know about André Luiz? He was a doctor, a physician. He had 2 surgeries. He had an intestinal obstruction, likely caused by a cancer. They believe the source of this cancer could be a disease, syphilis. No information how he got it. We also know there was a lot of other damage to his liver and his kidneys. And those damages were indications that through his life, and which was not unusual at that time, and I guess is still not unusual today, his life was a little excessive, sorry, and in his drinkings and eating habits. And this all contribute eventually to him having a serious problems and led that to his death. André Luiz had a lot of moral behaviors. He was not a happy person. He had a lack of self-control. He didn't know how to deal with others. And maybe a little pride. Feeling superior to the others, right? Not also unusual for doctors on the beginning of 20th century, since they were considered the elite, the intellectual elite, the society on that time. So not a surprise that a doctor at that time had this kind of feeling toward others. Not necessarily treat everybody with humbleness. By the way, the one word that we don't see talk about special about André Luiz. And the answer is nothing. Nothing. He was a common man, like most of us, with a lot of vice and virtues too. So looking at his incarnated life, we find no clues at all of his work to come with Emmanuel in Nosso Lar and the series of books that was coming too. It is his work after his material life, his effort at the moment he decides to take on the mission that is really special to us. Those are the novels, the collection of the novel, The Life in the Spiritual World series. Em português, A Vida no Mundo Espiritual. Tá? But before we talk about the novels, I will ask you to bear with me a little to start a while or share some personal details, and I prepare introduction of the novels and why those novels are so important to us. Sorry. We don't talk about death. We don't like to talk about death. We don't want to think about death. Most of us refuse to reflect every day about it. We used to think about death only when it happened to someone of our relatives or someone in our very narrow circle of friends or relations. But death is part of everyday life. It's a natural phenomenon. It's so normal that while I'm here talking to you, right, hundreds and hundreds of people just disincarnate in the world. To demonstrate this, I found this very interesting website. This is a live website. It takes like a few seconds to retrieve the data. But this is the current world population right now. And you can see here how many spirits are incarnating. But what I want to show you is here how many just went back to the spiritual world just today and this year. It's kind of shocking, right? See, this is live. The numbers are changing all the time. So while you're here, people are dying all the time. We don't think about that. This is exactly what the Life in the Spiritual World series will describe. The real life is the real Rome. It's not here. It is in the spiritual world. If you think that all of us are travelers, and everyone that experiences a trip knows that a trip has a beginning and an end, and in the case of the incarnation trip, here are my tickets. Here when I born, the departure ticket, and here my return ticket. Thank God, I and we don't know the return date. It's covered. Thank God. Although, I have to tell you, it is a red set to every one of us. If your carelessness or lack of control not rush or return to the spiritual world, each one of us has the date set already. So before I discovered Spiritism, I vividly recall thinking to myself, how could that be the end? How could that be the end? And if it is, what is the purpose of my existence? What's the purpose of a life well lived? All the learnings and the loving, if when I die, it's just over. So we are probably going to ask ourselves at some point, what happened to us when it's over? And that's exactly what the Life in the Spiritual World is going to explain to us. On those books, we have all the information. André Luiz has all the same thing we were thinking right now, and he explained to us on those books. Well, right now, I have such strong intuitive belief that inside of me, and probably you have too, telling me there is got to be something more. And must have something more that make no sense otherwise. And for many, many years, my mind searched desperately for that answer. Well, finally, my family and I immigrated to Canada. And one day, my wife, that's sitting in the back, she brought me here to TSS. And I was introduced to Spiritism. I have to confess, I had my doubts at the first. Upon action study of it, its history and teachings, I found my initial skepticism quickly gave way to an overwhelming feeling of relief. Allan Kardec on Spirit books explained that instinct of awareness of the future life comes from the knowledge our spirits had before initiating this material life. Right now is manifesting like a vague intuition. This knowledge is already part of our conscience, which is why we cannot make sense of life if we were to believe that the last breath is the prelude of the last thought. That's why we are so fortunate to have these books from the Life of the Spirit in the Spiritual World series from André Luiz and Chico Xavier. This extraordinary collection offers evidence and explanations that give us a solid base in order to replace doubt, fear, and despair with conviction, courage, and consolation. These books take spiritual concepts that we study from in other source and put them in a format of novels. So André Luiz gives us behind the scenes look and events of the everyday life are seen, interpreted, and most of the time even influenced by the spirits around us. Reading and studying these books, we clearly see André Luiz's evolution while he is learning the spiritual world. And we can take advantage of that and we help us in our evolution too. The continued of life and the knowledge that we had, we could gradually acquire as intellectual, spiritual beings, make very clear that evolution and progress are even possible, generation after generation, after lifetime after lifetime. We build on achievements of yesterday as we strive towards the accomplishments of tomorrow. That's why this collection is so important on the study of Spiritism. It was the first novel, Nosso Lar, that André Luiz tells us about his own discarnation and the struggles that he faced because the problem he had in his life. Nosso Lar sold more than 2 million of copies, edited by the Brazilian Spirit Federation in 1944, which became a movie in 2010. So, who did not watch the movie Nosso Lar here? Please raise your hands. You have to. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So he described to us the spiritual cities. And then we shares captivating description of the place and activities, as well a high respectful system of order and governance. found through the dwellings in the spiritual world. Here's the government center, right? Is the meeting point between the sixth ministry of the astral city or nosular city, right? And here are the ministries. There are 6 ministries. The first one is the Ministry of Communication. It is in charge of research and message to the families on earth. The Ministry of Regeneration, where the spirits get ready for reincarnation. Ministry of Assistance, where the sick are taken care of. Ministry of Elucidation welcomes spirits with a great work capacity and deep intellectual values. The Ministry of Divine Union, it is the highest ministry of all. It deals with affairs from the higher spheres. And the last one, the Ministry of Elevation, it requires renunciation and enlightenment. Only some spirits go there. André Luiz also show us the reincarnation pavilion, located next to the Ministry of Regeneration. It is where the spirits who are ready to incarnate live from. There's a passage on the movie that André Luiz was showing here, the pavilion. Well, if you're new to Spiritism, it's quite understandable that this all seems first like something straight off the science fiction movie. But believe André Luiz, and believe me, it is not. This is real. That's what is as expected as the other side. And now I need to ask my friend Marcio to turn on the sound, because I have to show something very interesting that I found while I was doing my research from this lecture. Okay, that's good. This is the making of Nosular. And he's the actor that did André Luiz.
Foram momentos difíceis que essa pessoa aqui nesse set de filmagem.
Yeah, he's preparing for scenes in the lower zones. Our Brazilians call umbral.
Esses personagens ficam no umbral e perdem o parâmetro também, como até mentalizar a figura dele.
Até chegar esse resultado aqui, a gente ficou junto várias vezes, né? Teve um dia que ficamos 7 horas com essa brincadeira. Deixa eu lembrar. Oh, muito bem! O Renato Diego está ensaiando há quase 5 meses já, uma dedicação incrível. Você fazer o que você gosta muito bom. Eu vi uma coisa aqui muito legal. O amor que cada
This is the actor that did the manual.
Eu tentei usar isso como dica. Muito obrigado a você.
Eu curto muito o fato de que os atores estão realmente apaixonados. É muito bom ver quando a pessoa curte o que está fazendo, né? Estamos em Toronto, temos uma sessão de pós-produção da Intelligent Creatures, tem muita gente trabalhando. A cada cena que você tiver uma cidade nosso lar, todos os conceitos crescendo, também as ajustes para serem feitos, mas no fundo a gente sempre confia. E essa confiança levou a gente à frente.
I am taking this matte painting and putting it behind him. And we're going to put movement in the clouds, and we're going to add more birds, that smoke drifting through the whole thing.
A história do nosso lar é uma jornada de superação, uma jornada de amor, é aprender a amar ao próximo como a si mesmo. Em setembro é hora de se apaixonar por essa história, é hora de vivenciar, aprender e curtir junto com o Dr. André Luiz. A gente espera vocês lá.
Interesting, right? So the movie Nosso Lar has this Canadian connection, was edited in post-production here, not too far away from TSS, 2 blocks away in the Queen Street, right? Very interesting. I didn't know about that. I discovered when I was looking for that. But anyway, let's go to book number 2, The Messengers. In this book, André Luiz tells stories about reincarnation and the plan the spirits go through to plan the next incarnation. So he approached subjects like gospel worship, the benefits of practicing good, carelessness regarding one's spiritual obligations, and the fear of that too. In 1945 was released Missionaries of the Light, book number 3. In this book, we're going to learn together with André Luiz when he discovered what is perispirit, how is the incarnation process, the mediumistic manifestations, and much, much more. In 1946 comes the book that disappointed a lot of people, that was counting days for retirement. Retirement does not exist in the spiritual world. The work continues forever. Forever. That's why the name of the book, Works of the Life Eternal. André Luiz tells us his experience as a member of a spiritual rescue team, and he reviews details of the task performed by the spirits at the moment of the death of the physical body. In 1947, in the greater world, talks about abortion, epilepsy, schizophrenia, Mongolism, and explain why so important the spiritual help to avoid madness and suicide and extreme moral disasters. 1949, Liberation was released. It tells a story proving that the divine compassion and true love grant to all new opportunities to free yourselves by means of study, labor, and persevering service in the practice of good. 1954 was the year between heaven and earth. This novel tells us the moving story about real individuals, Amaro, Zulmira, Odila, of course, fake names, recounting the events of their previous life. And again, André Luiz speaks of spiritual work close to us, renewing the interesting or the interested in our inner improvement. In 1955, in the realms of mediumship, André Luiz teaches us what he learned about mediumship, psychophony, sonambulism, possession, clairvoyance, out-of-the-body activity, psychometry, and other subjects. So we can feel that he is evolving in the spiritual life. He's learning more stuff. 1957 is the year of the action and reaction. In this book, we'll find a description of the suffering to which the guilt conscience is subject after death of the physical body. And once more, André Luiz presents studies of real-life case and offers guidance about the law of cause and effect, preparations for reincarnation, collective expiations, and the value of prayer. Evolution in 2 words. Chico and Valdo Vieira psychographed this book in 1958, but the book was only published in 1959. It is available in French, but is not available in English yet. In this book, André Luiz combined Jesus and science, and he talked about cosmic fluid, spiritual vampirism, marriage, divorce, abortion, and more. The mechanism of mediumship had again the partnership between Chico and Valdo, and was psychographed in 1959. This book and the previous one, The Evolution in 2 Words, are the only 2 that are not available in English yet. But if you know French, you're not going to have any problem. So this book covers very interesting subjects: electricity, magnetism, the phenomena of idioplasty, natural duplication, obsession, and other subjects. In the year that I was born, 1963, Chico and Valdo psychographed Sex and Destiny. 2 families, Torres and Nogueira, and stories of full of love, passion, vanity, lust, and hatred. André Luiz explained the effects of sexual experience and the conduct of incarnates have on immortal spirit in the future life. Like I said, André Luiz talks about the spiritual world close to us. He does not speak about angels. He mentions spirit like us, with part of light and part of shadow. Sometimes more shadow than light. And when he talks about benefactors, the majority of them are spirits that make big mistakes. And in the act to fix them, they become benefactors. Why am I saying this? Because in this book, the spirit responsible for the downfall of our characters in the story was exactly the benefactor Felix, the one responsible for rescue everyone that he helped bring down. So those books are so good because it's not something that's so far away for us. It's something that we can experience too, right? In 1968, the last book of this wonderful collection of novels, And the Life Goes On, E a Vida Continua. It also became a movie in 2012, and we had this book here on TSS. It's also available on YouTube. If you search for E a Vida Continua, filme completo, it's available, you can watch. And the story, it's about those 2 completely strangers here. So when Evelina meets Ernesto, she thinks that was just a coincidence. But they have no idea what life will reveal to them and how connected they really are. So Sandra did a lecture just of this movie, trying to explain how like the relatives of all of them and how they are connected, and when they discarnate and incarnated again, what they become to. So it's very, very, very interesting. When I watched this movie here on TSS, I was pretty new in the Spiritism, and I kind of didn't understand very well the movie. But I watched it again to prepare this lecture, and now with a completely different of view, and I can tell you, it's so wonderful. I love it. So if you didn't have a chance to watch, please do it. Here are other books dictated by André Luiz, but they are not part of the collection of novels, the Life in the Spiritual World series. First one is the Christian Agenda that we use here on TSS all the time, 1947 by Chico. Conduta Espírita, Spiritism Conduct, in 1960 by Valdo Vieira. This one is not available in English yet. Disobsession, 1964 by Chico and Valdo in partnership. Sinal Verde, or Green Sign, 1972 by Chico, not available in English. And Resposta da Vida, Life Answers, also by Chico and also not available in English. In addition to these books, André Luiz also participated in joint works with other spiritual writers, especially Emmanuel. In one of my past lectures, Word Problems was from the book Spirit of Truth, Espírito da Verdade, where André Luiz was one of the co-authors. So if you don't know already, I need to tell you that all those books are available electronically in the PDF format in the TSS website. You can go there and download them. Unfortunately, they are all in Portuguese. But in our library here, we offer like some versions in English too. But you can buy those books on Amazon or Edicei America. Edicei America is the responsible for those English books, the Spiritism English books. Well, that's it. To finalize, I would like to say that Spiritism and all these marvelous books show us that death is only a doorway through we simple return to our true home that is in the spiritual world. So just imagine the head start we can have being aware of all of this before it comes the time for us to disincarnate. Because it comes. You know. The only thing we know for sure in this life that will happen. So imagine the head start we can have if you have all this knowledge when we disincarnate. Because when we disincarnate, we're gonna be exactly the same way we are right now. Right? So the passage from the earth to the material life to the spiritual world is not going to make any one of us better. We will continue to be the same. Right? So if you were ignorant before this incarnation, you'll be ignorant in the spiritual world. If you're a stud lover now, you'll be a stud lover in the spiritual world. If you are incarnate, 9 of 10 your words are silly words or gossip. 9 of 10 words in the spiritual world will be the same thing. And if you find a medium, he's gonna psychograph everything that the silly stuff that you say. So the majority of these incarnations, the difference between us and them, it's for now, for this short period of time, we have a body. That's it. So do not forget, please. If you one thing you can remember from my lecture, do not forget. We are immortal spirits. We existed before this life, and we will continue to exist as individuals when it's over. one of the first consequences of this reality is the consoling certainty that grave does not rob us of the affection and the loving ties that we establish. The ties are lasting, and the temporary separations that we experience are truly of only physical nature. Our thoughts, when the power by intensity and direct by intention, have the ability to reach any destination. That's one way that we can remain in contact one to another until the joyful day when we are reunited again. Life matters. Who we are and what we do matters. Our past, present, and future are all connected. And through them, we find the works of the divine laws. We are travelers from the cradle to grave, and from the grave to cradle. We are reborn on earth and in the spiritual world as many times as it takes to learn, to renew, to rectify, and to progress according to the laws of the universe until we reach the perfection that's our common destiny. And because of that, I have a confession to make. I'm very embarrassed. The only book that I read in this whole collection was Non Solar. Spiritism teaches us that nothing happens by chance. For sure, between all of us, I'm the one that learned more and felt more pleasure with this lecture between all of us, for sure. This lecture is my wake-up call. I promised myself that starting tomorrow, I'm going to start to read all of them in sequence. And if you did not read them like me, I suggest you to do the same. Thank you.
All right, we still have some minutes. Any questions to our friend Marco?
Or comments?
I'm shy, come on guys.
Or comments?
Anyone on the webcast as well?
You know,
Have any question to have Olivia helping us? So you're invited to also make your questions, and we're gonna read here.
I just want to know if the other books that are not part of the 13 books, they also are available in PDF.
Yeah, we have a lot of things, as Marco said, we have a lot of books available in PDF on our website. It's all free books. If you search on the internet, you'll probably find others as well. So
In English, it's a different.
yeah,
Yeah.
in Portuguese.
It's a
In
little bit
English,
different, but in Portuguese, it's very easy. We have it here on TSS, and I got all of them from our website. So, but
And I
all of
know,
them are in Portuguese.
Because I know a lot of them you can find on Amazon, but I never saw the other ones that are not part of the 13 books, so this is just what I'm asking.
and if anyone have interest, we do have some books here in English as well to sell. And if we don't have one of the ones that you want, just let us know. And first opportunity that we have, we'll bring it from. We are always in contact with them. Yeah.
Is there any reason why these 13 albums, the others are not connected? They are connected.
Oh, they all talk about the spiritism, but those books are reunited in this series because they talk about the life in the spiritual world, right? So, and that's why they are put together. But yeah, by the years you can see that André Luiz was dictating them in between the series. So There's nothing like it. I think just human beings, we just separate them in this collection just to make sense to us.
I haven't read all of them, but I think also what happens is this 13 books is really, it's André Luiz telling you his experience. I'm here and this is what's happening. He's always following a spirit that it's put him in a situation that he can learn experience. And we just recently started to read it. His obsession is not about that anymore. So I think that's why those books are out. It's not anymore him talking about what he's seen in the spiritual world, like Solar, that he goes around and he explains what he sees and all his learning. Those are more like him talking about specific subjects. Like his obsession it's almost like a technical book. It's not about anymore him going, I went to the space and I saw this obsession happening. So that's why they come out. That's why the other one is called In the Spiritual, Life in the Spiritual, because he's telling his life, like what he's seen. So that's what they're separated.
It's almost like a continual collection of
Yeah.
experience. That's why
And
it's
the
like
beauty,
a diary.
and the beauty of
Yeah, like a diary. That's perfect. Like the 13 is more like a diary, and the other ones they have a different format.
And the beauty that I found on the series is that André Luiz could act like a irresponsible reporter, just saying, "Oh, I saw this, I saw that," but no, everything that he put on those books was direct to us, to explain to us what we're gonna face, and everything close to us. When I say close to us, is that we have different levels, different how would say levels of evolutions, right? So André Luiz on this series is not going to speak about angels, not going to speak about like a spirit that doesn't have more a human body, right? So he speaks to spirits and his life that we probably going to face it soon.
It's not perfect spirits, right? It's
Yes.
just spirits
Exactly.
like us.
There are day-by-day situations that we
Yeah.
face.
It will be
And we gotta-
completely no sense, or we don't have parameters to understand when if you try to explain how is a life for a spirit that doesn't have a body anymore. So we don't have knowledge to compare those things, and it will be no sense for us completely. So that's why they explain that in the level that we are, and that's what's important for us.
There's a question?
We have two things. One, we have a question from Gabby here. When we reincarnate, do we have the same spiritual knowledge from the past life? And do we have to be reintroduced to Spiritism again?
No, we have the same knowledge, right? So we forget some stuff, but that thing comes back to us when we need it. But like I said, we are exactly the same person. 1 second after your disincarnation, we will be exactly the same, right? The same thoughts we have in that moment, we're going to continue to have, and nothing's going to be different.
But you kind of need to learn everything about spiritism again. You kind of, maybe it will be easier if you learn in a previous life because you have that in your subconscious, right? You kind of forget everything in previous lives to be able to go for a new life, but the knowledge is there. It will more easily understand spiritism. For example, if you were a spiritist in previous life.
In the movie, The Life Goes On. So Ernesto, he knew about the spiritism. He knew it. Evelina, no. Evelina was a Catholic, so she didn't believe about spiritism and life after that. But Ernesto knew it. He had this previous knowledge. So when both wake up in the spiritual world, they're confused. They didn't know where they are. They thought they were still on Earth, and Evelina was completely lost, but Ernesto was lost too, but he kind of had, okay, maybe what we are hearing about here, that we are not in the Earth anymore, it kind of makes sense, but he was not like he didn't go too deep in the knowledge of Spiritism. Of course, he probably didn't read all those books on André Luiz, so until he realized that they actually dead, they actually in the spiritual world, it take him a while, but he brought that knowledge from Mexico.
I think we have another question, right?
We have a comment and something else. My dad has shared the No Solar movie on Facebook, anyone wants to watch it after. And he also says that we have the blessings for forgetting our past, read more in this book. However, the knowledge and the spiritual maturity is always there in our minds and hearts.
And
Thank
also
you, Marco.
Marco Magalhães said that the lecture was lovely.
Thank you, thank you.
Everybody said the lecture was lovely.
Another question. All right, so thank you very much, Marcus. As you heard Marcus saying, today is our lunch and learn. So just after this lecture, we'll set up the house to have our lunch. Everybody is welcome. I'm gonna talk a little bit about more about that, but different from the other Sundays, we will not have the classes after the lecture. So let's just close with a prayer. I want to invite all of you to close your eyes. Feel the good energy that our mentors, the works of this house, is sending toward us. And you feel the love that Jesus has for each one of us. And let's thank them. Let's thank Jesus, our mentors, for inspiring us to be here today. For inspiring our lives every single day to do the right thing, the good thing. And let's ask them to continue blessing us, inspiring us with good thoughts, good teachings, good books. Let's ask God to bless all those brothers and sisters that are here today. That each one of them can feel the love and faith. So be it. All right, so thank you very much everyone for coming. And before we go, just a key reminders about our work here at the house. Every Wednesday and Thursdays, we are here studying our Kardec's book. So Wednesday, 7 p.m., we start with the Gospel and then we read the Medium's book. And on Thursday, the Spirit's book and Heaven and Hell. Also on Wednesday and Thursdays, we have our fraternal meetings. So if anyone is going through anything they want to talk with someone, we have our team here that is always willing to talk a little bit. And every Sunday, we have our study here at 11 p.m. You are welcome to come. And what else? Am I missing anything? Oh, the second Sunday. I don't know why I had all these things. We have the lectures in Portuguese. So next week it will be in Portuguese. And if anyone is starting a gospel at home or needing help to understand how it works, we also have a team here that is willing to help on those activities. So you can talk with Katarina or send